District 21 is, right? And I encourage all of you guys to go to www.offsync.today, right? We could have did .com, but we wanted to make sure that there was urgency in this, that we had to do it today. So it's offsync.today, correct? And I also have business cards and remit envelopes if anybody wants to do that. But I just want to talk about that race a little bit. So a lot of the things that Bernie Sanders has talked about, the things that we are super passionate about, are things that we could definitely do at a state level, right? And the way that Bernie Sanders was talking about Vermont was a example for gay rights and such like that. Oregon has the potential to be that model for the rest of the country for so many different things, right? But what we do is we become content with this Democratic establishment, okay? Our Democratic Party here has had the governorship, the House, the Senate for so long, right? So why are we not the state that has single-payer health care, right? Why are we not the state that's taking on campaign finance, right? Why are we not the state that's taking on these environmental issues, right? Why are we not the state that's saying that Black lives do in fact matter and there's something we have to do about this, right? So how many people in here want single-payer health care in Oregon? Raise your hand. This is a state level issue. This is something we can do at the state. I don't know how much of you guys know about our renting crisis here, but I know that you feel it. I don't know if you know exactly what goes into it, but I know that you feel it. Even if you're an owner, you know what's going on with our renting crisis, right? You know what's going on with the renters. You know what's going on in the property values. You know what's going on with Airbnb, correct? So these are issues that people can do at the state level. So I ask you guys, if we're this progressive state, one thing that Bernie Sanders proved to us is that this country is far, far more progressive than people were led to believe before, right? But Oregon is way more progressive than the rest of the country, correct? So why are we not the state that's pressing for single-payer health care, okay? Colorado in 13, 14, someone's got to know, was the first state to legalize marijuana, okay? And in 2017, they might be the first state to pass single-payer health care. I want to challenge you guys to make sure that we beat them this time, okay? Oregon has to be the state where we pass single-payer health care. So I work for a man named James Offsync, okay? He's a supporter of Measure 97. He's a supporter of lifting the preemption on rent control. So I'm gonna get a little wonky on you guys with the rent control stuff. So there's a lot we can do at the city level, but what it all comes down to is ORS 91.725, I believe, something like that. And it's a preemption on rent control where the state has decided that without basically a natural disaster, that the county levels and the city levels cannot enact rent control. And that's something that we should be able to lift from our state legislature to make sure that we can have rent control measures here, okay? And what rent control means is that we basically need a rental hike freeze and at a minimum, a moratorium on no-cause evictions. So there's no-cause evictions in the state of Oregon, which is apparently a progressive state, right? But for some reason, we're in the company of Alabama and Texas as the last three states that allow for no-cause evictions. Alabama and Texas, right? So why is it that we've had a Democratic governor for so long, we had a Democratic Senate, a Democratic House, but we're in the company of Alabama and Texas when it comes to this rent control? It doesn't make any sense, right? So I work for a man named James Offsync, who is running for state senate in the district where the watershed is, where the Bernie PDX meetings are, and we have drafted legislation for single-payer health care in Oregon, for lifting the preemptions on rent control in Oregon. And we're running against a person named Kathleen Taylor. Now I understand that a lot of people here have chosen to stay within the Democratic Party, and I have actually worked for the Democratic Party and been a Democrat my whole voting life, which, believe it or not, isn't that long. But for my whole career, I've worked for Democrats even before I could vote. This is the first time I've not worked for Democrats because we're running against a candidate whose number one or top donors are Comcast, Northwest Natural Gas.
Oh my God. Please.
And then another source, basically the top 2 point source polluters in Oregon are funding our Democratic opponent. And this is why our Democratic legislature can't get anything done. Because we have Democrats that are here funded by corporations, by Comcast, and they're willing to vote. So if you look at Kathleen Taylor's voting record, 92% Democrat. But that's not what we have to look at here. Oregon is supposed to be a model for progressive movements, okay? We don't need to just look at voting records, but what you're willing to raise. If you're not willing to co-sponsor a bill on single-payer healthcare, you gotta go. If you're not willing to talk about campaign finance reform, you gotta go. We gotta talk about these kind of issues in Oregon, okay? So these things that we've been talking about as federal issues, the things that Bernie Sanders has raised, single-payer healthcare, mainly that. That's something that we can do at a state level. Oregon Senate District 21 is the most liberal district in the state. The most liberal district in the state. So why would we elect a Democrat who is funded by Comcast? I just found out yesterday, actually, that in 2014, our opponent, Kathleen Taylor, was actually funded by Goldman Sachs, right? In her 2014 race, she was spending $200,000. Now, for James Offsink, like I said, I've been a campaign manager for a long time. So far, we've raised about $35,000, which is huge. He has the nomination from the Progressive Party and the Green Party. So Bernie Sanders had to run against the Democratic establishment in the primary. We have the benefit of going all the way till November, okay? And as a lot of you guys have, I'll get to it. A lot of you guys have realized that a lot of you guys have decided that you're going to vote Democrat in the general election. A lot of you guys have not. But regardless, the ideas that Bernie Sanders is talking about, we can do them at the state level. I just want to say that. And so I encourage you guys all, the website is www.offsync.today, right? And I got business cards, remit envelopes. Like I said, we've raised $35,000 so far. We're mounting like a huge campaign. We have way more volunteers than Kathleen Taylor has. We don't have the money. We have more volunteers. We have more people working on it on the ground. And these things, even if you don't live in Oregon Senate District 21, these things are state level issues. So you can support somebody, the only person actually that's fighting for single payer healthcare, the only person that's fighting to remove these preemptions, the only on rent control, the only person that's fighting to say, look, why is our Democratic legislator funded by Comcast? Why is Northwest Natural Gas funding our Democratic legislature, right? So there's one person running for our Oregon Senate that's willing to take on these issues, and it's James Offsink, and that's who I work for at the moment. So I encourage you, all of you guys, our meetings are gonna be actually at the Watershed, the same place as Bernie PDX. We're gonna be meeting, I believe, on Wednesdays every single week starting next week. We already have people making phone calls all the time, knocking on doors. We're gonna win this. Like I've said, I've never lost so far. This is the 5th campaign that I've run. I've never lost so far. This is the first time I've ran outside of the Democratic Party. I'm still not gonna lose. And if James Offsink wins, he will be the first independent that's been elected to the Oregon State Legislature in 40 years. He's also, which is ridiculous, right? Bernie Sanders was an independent elected, right? If Vermont can do it, Oregon can do it. It's our time to decide that we're not gonna put up with Democratic establishment people that are funded by Comcast, Northwest Natural Gas, Goldman Sachs. If half of your money is coming from New York, then how are we supposed to believe that you're looking out for our interests, okay? And not only that, I just wanna say that Oregon can be a model for all these other states, right? And as much as I would like to believe that a lot of these issues are entirely federal issues, we live in a republic, correct? So we live in a place where states have a lot of power. In Oregon, I take a lot of pride in being from Oregon. I'm from Portland, Oregon, born, raised, and bred in Portland, Oregon. And And we have the opportunity here to be the ones that provide a model for all these other states to say single-payer healthcare can happen at the state level. Just like marijuana was passed in all these different states and eventually it's gonna have to be a state thing, and just like gay marriage was passed in all these other states and then it's gonna have to be a federal thing, if we pass single-payer healthcare, campaign finance reform, right? Lifting the preemptions on rent control to where we decide that our homes are not supposed to be for profit, our homes are supposed to be where we live, right? This is the stuff that Oregon should be proud of and something that we can do moving forward. So I just want to close saying that to please go to www.offsync.today, start coming to the Bernie PDX headquarters on Wednesdays, and we're going to start doing this for James OffSync, and of course on Tuesdays, but also, I was saying also on Wednesdays, of course on Tuesdays, I know you guys are all there, on Wednesdays to come support James OffSync so we can actually take pride in our state. Thank you guys so much. Any questions that you guys have, I'd love to take. I just want to say I have business cards that if anybody likes to volunteer, wants to volunteer, or has a specialty, we have a fundraising committee, we have a canvassing committee, and then we have a policy committee in which we're drafting legislation, such as our single-payer legislation, lifting the preemptions on rent control. We're the only candidates that isn't just running on values, but also running on this is what I'm gonna do day one. This is what I'm gonna pass day one, right? This is what I'm gonna put in the legislation day one. Okay, so any questions that you guys have? Sorry, I'm not good with time limits.
Spell his name.
James OffSync, James, James OffSync, OFSINK. And the website is www.offsync.today. You guys can go to there. There's places where you can say that you would like to volunteer, and we're going to put this in the state level, and we're going to finally be proud of the state of Oregon to say that we are the ones pushing these progressive values. Yes?
Why is it that you're compromised to only have health care for single parents? Why is it that you are not supporting health care for everyone equal? It's too much of a compromise. I cannot support you. Do what you can.
Wait, I'm sorry.
Do what you can. But
Okay, we can take down this. I don't know if I have time to take down this argument.
Single parent health care.
Are you saying
Address that.
single payer healthcare means that everybody will get healthcare above what Obamacare is, where healthcare is for-profit system, where rather that healthcare is a human right, not just for-profit, just based on what your income is, but rather healthcare is going to be a human right for everybody. I hope that everybody in this room, based on what Bernie Sanders has said, understands what single payer healthcare is. Medicare for all.
Let me just say that we've got a movement already. HCAO, Healthcare for All Oregon.
Correct. And
And it's a strong movement, and we're working on it.
Woo!
2020, unfortunately.
Everybody's in the same lot.
Unfortunately,
because we're
it's-
on the same lot, on the same fragile
We're on the
boat
same team.
together.
we're on the same team.
Okay, well then let's stop this about
What are you
the
doing?
demographics of age.
Hey, I have a question.
Single means for everybody, like as everybody, as any single
You
person has the right to
support me,
healthcare.
I will support you. This is the very basics of the golden rule versus find the gold.
I don't know what she's saying.
Step
It's
back.
just Medicare for all.
Everybody.
It's Medicare for all.
All right, so we're gonna switch to campaign finance reform, which is something that we can all get behind,
We're
right?
not compromised.
All right.
Anybody who compromises is not within my.
There are two campaign finance initiatives, one on the ballot in Multnomah County and one for the Portland City Council that they will be voting on, and Emma Darden is gonna talk about it.
I'm in my second party tonight talking about this because it's so freaking exciting.
No compromise.
So I was
I will not cooperate with.
I was texting Shannon Jackson earlier this
You
week,
shush yourself.
and we were talking about that there's a ballot initiative in Washington, which Bernie
You
highlighted,
support me and I
and then
support
we
you.
have one at the city council level here, and we have one at the county level here, and he said, if you guys can pass all three of these, we will have campaign finance reform all over the West Coast, and like who's not going to notice that? So The first one that we have is for the Portland City Council. It's a public financing measure. It matches donations $50 and under 6 to 1. So anybody can suddenly have a voice in Portland politics. It also puts in provisions to make it harder for.
What's the name or number of that again?
The county measure is 26-184. So that is the campaign finance contribution limits, which we're also super excited about. That one made it through a charter review as 7-6 votes. Very close, but we are going to fight that. We need to do canvassing and phone banking for them. And then we also have the city measure, which we'll need to pack those public review rooms. We're going to do letters to our city council to make them know that we actually care about this. And there's a couple swing votes who we're going to work on. So super exciting stuff. We actually have the potential to pass both of these very strongly, and we need everybody's support. And I see a hand over here.
I've worked on both of those measures. The city council one is not going to the ballot.
The city council one is a vote by the city council. Currently we have the vote of Mayor Charlie Hales and Commissioner Amanda Fritz, who's drafting the measure. We are working on the other 3 votes. So if you're interested in that particular situation more about the 3 votes, we can chat. But lots and lots of work to do there. I just came from a house party with 18 people and 16 of them signed up to help with campaign finance reform. So totally stoked. I'm going to hand the microphone off now to somebody else.
All right, thank you, Emma. So yes, as far as campaign finance goes, there are 2 things that we can do. 1 is we can vote on a county measure. 2 is we can apply pressure to our city council people in Portland to get them to support this. Cole.
Yeah, I just wanted to say something. Gregory was talking about the preemption on rent control, and the preemption on rent control is actually a lot worse than you would think it is. It's not just a preemption on rent control, it's a preemption on the city of Portland passing any law that supersedes Oregon state law. It's the reason that the minimum wage in Oregon can't be higher than the minimum wage in the state. So it's not just dealing with rent control. The issue that Jens Offsing is fighting for is a lot deeper than that and a lot longer.
That's why we have to keep going past November, because we have to take this to the legislature.
Yeah, but natural disaster, right? Human made. Yeah. So at the city and county level, they can enact rent control if there's a man-made natural disaster. If there's a man-made natural disaster, they're allowed to step in, and there literally is a man-made natural disaster. I saw a man sleeping on the street with his young child in downtown Portland last week. So it can happen locally. That's why we need champions in there like Chloe Daly and James Offsing and Amanda Schrader, and just at all levels we can do this. Oh, yeah, well, we don't do national. Shanti's good, but we're staying off national to avoid the Hillary.
Okay, so 11 weeks. 11 weeks is all we have to make this happen, to really get the progressive revolution rolling here in Oregon for, the 2016 cycle, to really get out there to help, if you can, in any way. Amanda Schrader, Chloe Daly, James Offsing, to volunteer for Measure 97. If you have time for any of these things, now is the time. 11 weeks is what we have to influence the minds of people who are going to be making a choice on November 8th. Sure, just a moment.
And 3 weeks before.
And the September 24th vote is coming up a lot closer than that. We're going to be having a big party on September 14th to write letters to council people. We're going to be doing that at Bernie PDX meetings as well. So that one is coming up even faster.
And we also have another couple of district elections that I want to give some space for. So here's Melissa.
Thank you, Leah. I'll be quick. In case you haven't caught wind, some of the district reorg meetings have been a little bit hard to find out about. And again, Kat mentioned on August 27th is, what's your district again, Kat?
HT 44.
HD 44. Also at 10:15. Yeah.
They don't have any idea what a district network meeting is.
Oh, thank you. Okay, great. And Leah's going to talk next about PCPs, but what's happening right now this time of year is that the Democratic Party of Oregon and the counties therein are reorganizing for the next 2 years. And the district reorganizations are happening right now. If you don't know what district you're in, you can go to OregonLegislature.gov and put in your address, and it will give you your congressional, Senate, and House districts. That's OregonLegislature.gov. It'll give you both the number district that you're in as well as the representative of your district. I encourage you to find that information out and be aware of it. Once upon a time, how many of you have heard the expression, get involved in local elections? Have you heard that expression before? I did too, and I thought that meant just vote for my local candidates in the general election. And what I'm finding out right now, thanks to our revolution, is that means get involved to be able to vote in special elections and local elections that require a certain privilege in order to do. And one of those that Leah's going to talk about next is a PCP, a precinct committee person. There's over 1,000 positions vacant in the state of Oregon, and I gotta leave it for her. But what's happening Saturday morning at 10:15 is House District 36 and 27, if those apply to you, again, at OregonLegislature.gov, you can find that out. We will be electing district leaders and assistant district leader, and any observers who are available to come to the Hillsdale Library at 10:15 will be so appreciated. Just to give you an idea of who's in those districts, 36 and 27, we have Ted Wheeler, the mayor-elect. We have Frank Dixon, the chair of the Democratic Party of Oregon. We have Jennifer Williamson, the majority House leader. We have some heavy hitters in our district, and I'm running to be district leader. What the district leader does is they then work with the precinct committee persons, the PCPs, and they're there to rally and energize. And as Bernie has been saying, this change happens from the bottom up, and that's what we're doing, is we are creating that foundation to take our issues to get them in policy. So for all of us community activists that are here, like me, we get to create this platform and send it up. And I encourage you to do that. But Saturday, 10:15 at the Hillsdale Library for Districts 36 and 27. And the
Melissa,
microphone.
can you also, there's a couple of us here who have become new district
Yeah.
leaders. So the revolution is here, it's happening, we're taking over, bringing people, Valdez and myself.
Carol Ann, what district are you in?
I'm in 42.
42 for Carol Ann, she's the new district leader.
35, 38.
District 35 for Valdez Bravo.
What I'm saying is
45.
Oh, wait a second, District 45, what's your name?
Jody.
Jody what?
Zeitzel.
Jody Zeitzel in District 45, Carolyn Fry in District 42, you said?
But, so the revolution is here, like Melissa just said. I wasn't even a Democrat a year ago, and now I'm a district leader, so it really is up to us to bring the change from the bottom up, and if we can do it, all of you guys can do it, so please come join us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And piggybacking on what Carol Ann said, yes, the revolution happens from the ground level up. And one of the ways that we can affect change is by becoming a precinct committee person to the Democratic Party of Oregon. As we are in Multnomah County now, we have some forms here for anybody who would like to join at the lowest level of the Democratic Party to become a precinct committee person. There's really not much that is required of you at this level, but really what this does is when we have a critical mass of people who are supporting Senator Sanders' values in the Oregon Democratic Party, only then can we make the change to move to a more progressive Oregon. As Carol Ann said, I as well have recently become a member of the Democratic Party. I always felt that I was far too progressive for the Democratic Party and that it didn't represent me. Well, according to Senator Sanders, what I need to do to make the Democratic Party of Oregon represent me is to join the Democratic Party. So that's what I've done. I'm a precinct committee person, and I'm the second assistant district leader in District 41. So, and that's how we do it, Once we become precinct committee people, then we are allowed to vote for members of the standing committees for the Democratic Party of Oregon, for the Multnomah County Democrats, for the Clackamas Democrats, whatever county you're living in. And those are the positions that really begin to introduce the types of changes that we're looking for. The people who become on the platform committees and the rules committees really are the people that are holding the vision for the progressive Oregon that we really all want to see, that we want to live in. So to take a step, to fill out a form, to become a precinct committee person, I would encourage anybody who feels like they have a very small time commitment that they could make once every several months to attend a meeting, to show up, to vote, and to make a change in the Democratic Party of Oregon. So if there's anybody who feels like they could do this right now, raise your hand. Anybody at all? Anybody that hasn't already signed up to do it? Any newbies? Any fresh blood? We got one person? One new precinct committee people? Two? Oh, excellent. There we go. Thank you so much. Eugene signed up 18 people. We need, here, I got a form for you right there. Yes. Okay. Anybody else? 18 people from Eugene. Come on, you guys. There's at least 18 people in this room right now. Can we get at least one? Come on, a pity PCP? Anybody? All right, we got one. Okay. Okay, all right. Thank you very much. And thank you so much for coming out tonight, for representing our revolution, the vision of Bernie Sanders, and a progressive in the United States. Thanks you guys so much. Oh yes, sorry. And every Tuesday, beginning at 6 p.m., we have Bernie PDX. We are still continuing to meet every Tuesday, 6 p.m. until 7:30. We do phone banking for candidates and causes. These 11 weeks that we have until the election coming up are very, very crucial if we want to make Oregon into the type of Oregon that we would really love to live in, the ideal Oregon, the progressive Oregon that we all hold in our hearts and our minds. Now is the time that we need to show up. We need to invest our time, we need to invest our energy, we need to invest a little money if we have it, but we need to do that during these 11 weeks so that we can make the types of changes that we are wanting. So yeah, come to Bernie PDX. We meet every Tuesday. We will be doing phone banks and having meetings, progressive causes and candidates, and moving the ball down the court.
Thank you, Leah.
Thank you.